'cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make.
Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay, 'cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency, a message for eternity, for everyone internally.
Alrighty, so this is my first episode of my podcast, and I'm very grateful to have Dr. Jonathan Crutchfield here today. Jonathan is a real estate investor, and wanted to take today to kind of get to know him and what he's been up to, and also get into kind of like his background, so other people can kind of know what your journey's been like, getting from being in education and obviously changing and getting into real estate, because that's obviously been a transformation in your mindset, and obviously has totally changed your whole entire life. So if you could please just kind of tell us a little bit about your background. I understand that you were a principal before. I'll let you have the floor.
Sure thing. Johnny Cash offer. I love it, man. I love it. Hopefully you've been doing well. Happy New Year.
Yeah, man. Thank you. You know what's it.
Yeah. So, I like to give the quick spiel. John Crutchfield. I grew up in Tallahassee, Florida. 2 great parents who still love me to death. And they kind of taught me what a lot of people's parents taught them. Treat other people with respect. Do the best you can in school. When you finish school, go to college. Didn't think college was an option. And then they said, okay, once you go to college, if you get good grades, you'll get a good job. And then you can work for 30 years and then you can retire and live a good life.
Yeah.
So that's what I remember. So I did just that, did pretty good in high school. Ended up going to college at Florida State in Tallahassee.
You're a Seminole.
My teachers. Yeah, I'm a Seminole. I know. Tough to tell me to be a Seminole in 2020.
Oh, yeah. Man, new quarterback, but we'll get one.
Yes. But, I ended up doing that. Really thought that I was going down the right track because I got my first job. I was a teacher. I was off on the winter time and I was off in the summers, and you quickly realize that, hey, I need to make more money. So what did I do? I go back to school so I could get a better pay raise, and then ended up being a principal of a school.
Yeah.
Making what I thought at the time was great money. But again, more money comes in without good financial education, more money goes out. Lifestyle increases, spending more, big bills. And something had to give, because as a principal of school, a lot of people don't think about this, but the principal is responsible for being at a lot of the different activities, right? So every game, every extracurricular activity, somebody has to be there to supervise and chaperone. And my wife ended up saying, hey, you need to do something different. So I ended up taking a job as a professor at Ole Miss, teaching other people how to be principals, which was kind of interesting at such a young age to be able to do that. But what ended up happening was I had a bunch of free time as a professor at a college that I didn't have as a principal at a school. And I started looking for ways to increase my income, looking for ways to kind of be able to quit working eventually for somebody else. And that's when I discovered podcasting and real estate investing and a lot of self-development, stuff like that. So, it definitely has changed my life for the better. In a lot of ways, I'm not even the same person that I used to be back then. So,
yeah, I would love to get into that.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's a large part of it is, our self-limiting beliefs. And this is not stuff that we were ever taught growing up. Is I'm like first generation or possibly second generation American. My dad was from Ecuador. My mom was born here. So I'm not really sure only 1.5 generation. But to them, education was always the most important thing. It doesn't matter what you do in life other than you got to go to school. And that's all of us were ever taught. And to go from that and working a 9-to-5 or a salary job, for them, that was the way out and the way to have financial security and stability for our future. To go against the grain and decide to go off and get into entrepreneurship, that takes a lot of courage and a lot of self-belief that I don't think that we're ever really taught. And like you said, also about the financial education, that was all pretty new to us once we got into this field. But you kind of had mentioned, I think actually I had listened to a couple, prior to this, I did listen to a couple of your other podcasts. You mentioned that I think there were in church, maybe a pastor or preacher had told you about how he was in real estate, and that was something that you could do too.
Yeah, one of the elders in my church was sitting in a pew one day, like, you know how you eat after church sometimes and fellowship with each other. And, you know, he was sitting in a pew with his laptop and he had an Excel spreadsheet up. And I kind of walked up to him making a joke, like, come on, man, stop working and serve the Lord, you know, fellowship with your brothers and sisters. It was a joke. And he was like, no, you need to come sit over here so I can show you how to retire. And
that joke with him actually opened up that conversation, which was really good.
Definitely. Saw his spreadsheet with, 40, 50 rental properties on it, something like that. And I was like, wait, this is a regular guy who's up here on Sunday mornings teaching Bible class. Like, he's rich. And that definitely opened my eyes.
Yeah, I was actually I'm glad you mentioned how many rentals he had, because I was kind of curious, like, how invested was he, literally and figuratively. And that's cool that he was like doing that much, and also, obviously an elder in the church. That's really cool.
You actually have me thinking about texting him right now. Like, how's retirement going? Because he retired and supports himself totally on real estate.
Was he working outside of that, like in the church,
No, he was working full time in a W-2 job at a factory. And
oh wow.
Yeah, this was his retirement plan. Like when I met him, he was in his mid 50s. He had reached the retirement age for that company where they would pay him a retirement. But his whole plan for the last 20 years prior to that had been buying these rental properties and fixing them up and then renting them out.
That's awesome. So I do want to get more into you and, kind of like, again, a little bit more to your journey. How long, like before college, like what were you planning on doing? And then, how long were you a teacher before becoming a principal? And then how long were you a principal?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think in high school, I thought I was going to be a preacher because, the preacher, got in front of the class, got in front of the church and, talked, and he encouraged people. He inspired people. I think I like that about preachers. So when I first went to college, I actually was majoring in religion. That's what I thought I was going to do with my life. That ended up switching because I ended up getting married at 19 years old. To
oh wow!
Love of my life, who's still my wife.
That's amazing.
I tell her all the time, like, we started fighting so much, I was like, I'm never going to be a good preacher. So I switched, but I was a teacher for 5 years. I taught middle school math and social studies. And then I was a principal assistant. You know how you go from assistant principal? That was 3 years, and then a principal for 3 years after that.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's a good amount of time to be in education.
Yeah, 10 to 12 years. I got an education in 2008, and then I quit my job as a professor at college in 2020.
Wow, okay. So it's been a few years.
Yes.
And are you involved with education at all now, or just totally removed from it?
I would say I'm fairly removed.
Okay.
I mentor. I've got a couple of students that I mentor. I go into high school and meet with them for 30 minutes once a week. But outside of that, like, I'm totally out.
That's cool. But that you chose to obviously get involved and try and mentor some children.
Oh yeah,
teens.
Yeah,
that's amazing. And then can you tell me a little bit about like your first rental property? And then from what I understand, like you have a 66 unit.
Yeah, my first rental property, it kind of started by accident, because if I go back to like my first rental properties, my wife, like the American dream, right, is to own your own home, right?
Yeah.
So the
definitely.
first rental properties, maybe the first 2 or 3 that we had were houses that we bought, and then we decided we didn't want to live there anymore, and we just couldn't afford another mortgage, so we had to rent it out to somebody. I think that's an interesting thing to think about, because if I really look at it, like, I wouldn't call it trying to keep up with the Joneses, but it was certainly like trying to live the American dream, right? We got married at 19. I got my first mortgage at 19, right?
I mean, that's pretty close to the American dream, man.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I got married. I had a job. I was working for Chase Bank. I was working as a call center rep, making enough money. They're making enough money to, if we put our money together, we get our first 0 down home loan at Community Bank, the local bank in town.
That's awesome.
And, apply for all these credit cards and put all your furniture on it and put all your appliances on it and, live the American dream. And then, 12 months later say, hey, I don't even think we want to live here. Right. But you don't have any equity. I didn't know anything I know now about negotiating or anything like that. So, ended up being upside down in the house because we had just bought it and hadn't had any time to pay it down. So we had to keep it.
Oh, yeah.
And the only thing that I knew was, okay, maybe somebody else will pay us rent and then I could take their rent and pay the mortgage. I at least knew that.
That's good.
So we did that a couple of times. And then, fast forward 10 years, from that, I started listening to podcasts about how to do deals with no money down, how to seller finance properties. So I was making offers to people that own property, just texting them, hey, I don't have any money. Will you seller finance to me? I'm really interested in buying this. Will you seller finance this to me? I was doing a lot of that. I was even asking realtors to do it for me. Hey, will you make an offer on this property for me? And ask them, will they seller finance to me? There's a lot of that kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that if I want to be free from my job and I want financial independence, I have to be doing more than just working a job.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And when you were reaching out to these agents, were they sharing you away because you were offering seller finance by like
some of them were, a lot of them were, but a lot of them were interested in this young guy that was willing to be out here making offers. And so a couple of the deals I bought weren't the things that were on the market. It was realtors who were like, I can't do that on this one, but you need to talk to this guy.
Oh, okay, good.
Or I can't do that on this one, but I think he might seller finance another one.
Nice.
So a lot of the first deals that we did were seller finance or just very cheap, credit card type swipe type stuff I would never do today. But stuff to get going and kind of
help you build a small portfolio in the beginning.
Yes.
Which is amazing. Yeah. No, honestly, I think like no matter how times change, I think seller finance will always be a great option because it's whatever you can negotiate. If they are willing to do principal only, great. Who doesn't want a loan that doesn't have any interest? As long as the purchase price works and the payments are great, down payment's great. That's that's something that you can always rely on even when interest rates are high in the market. Right. But what you were saying for your first rental that you had gotten, which was initially supposed to be your home, and it was for a year. What kind of loan was that that you first got? Was it like a VA loan, or did they have like a special program for you being like a teacher or something? Like you said, it was 0% down.
Yeah, I think back then it was just like your local conventional loan from your small bank. I know at one point, I think a couple of times we got FHA loans. And they were very small down payments that were required. But I know that first loan was zero down. And I think it was just what they called the first time home buyer program.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's cool. So tell us today, like, what does your portfolio look like? Because obviously you come a long way from that one single family home.
Yeah, I'm kind of nostalgic, actually, sometimes. It's like I'm on the other side of it now because I'm doing some liquidation and restructuring of properties. And I actually just got off a call trying to sell 30 of them at once. But our portfolio today, I like to think I'm a comprehensive real estate investment company. We have, single family homes, small duplexes and apartments, I have some warehouses in the portfolio and a hotel as well. So we manage quite a bit of assets today. I like to say, like, we're doing a little bit of everything to try to learn and grow. And we've got our favorite properties, which are the larger apartment buildings, 60, 8, 16, 60 units, stuff like that are my favorites. But they are harder to find at the price points that I like. So.
Oh, for sure. So I mean, you, if I remember, because again, I had to listen to one of your other podcasts. You were a teacher in Louisiana, if I got that right. And then you had moved, or you invest in Tupelo, right? What are your markets?
Tupelo, Mississippi is where my office is. It's where I spend a lot of time, and then Dallas, Texas is where I live nowadays.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty much where I spend a lot of my free time. But yeah, I grew up in Tallahassee, Florida, and my wife came over to Florida State to go to school. She's from Louisiana. And so we met and we moved to Mississippi for that 1 year. And then we moved to Louisiana for 7-8 years. That's where I was teaching. And then we moved to Mississippi. And I've kind of traveled a little bit and moved a lot of different places. But yeah, it's, these days, most of my deals, I try to do them in markets where I'm close, Tupelo or Dallas.
Yeah.
But we also are growing other businesses that are national businesses. So,
that's amazing.
I kind of like the idea of being able to be everywhere and meet all kinds of people.
Yeah. And so all your properties are down in Tupelo, including like the hotel and...
Nope.
Everything?
I've got properties a little bit everywhere. I've got property in Iowa. That's where the hotel is. I've got properties in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida. So, I generally go where the deal is. As I've gotten older and wiser and seen some downturn in the market recently, I've started being even more picky and selective with what I'm willing to do.
Yeah. And what's like your buy box, like, criteria? Let's say not for every asset class, but like for, let's say, like a multifamily, like what are you kind of looking for?
Yeah, so in multifamily, I look for a complete unicorn, right? It's probably going to be distressed. I'm probably going to be direct to the owner. I'm probably looking for something that has the potential to like double in value within a couple of years, right? Whether that be from value add or whether that be for, just the location it's in, or me being able to improve the property for some reason. I'd like to do something where I either don't have to put capital in at all, or I get all my capital back within a year. So that's generally what I look for. If I had to say, like, my buy box today is probably even tighter on that. It would have to be like an extremely distressed owner who, they just really, really, really sold it for pennies. I mean, I spent 7 years buying as much real estate as one person could really buy. I don't have any partners. I don't syndicate deals, so I haven't raised capital. So I'm kind of in the stage right now of reversing it back. and
those are all like those are all things I would love to get into, just because I think that's kind of unique, and a lot of people they tend to do syndications and everything, which is great. That works for them, but I think, like, ultimately, like, even for myself, I would love to be able to have the control of these properties. And then, when you're getting these properties, and obviously you become more strict, would you say that a lot of them are like B class, C class, or do you have like D class properties that you've obviously have forced appreciation on by fixing them up?
Yeah, so a lot of times when you're buying the distressed properties, they're going to be distressed for some reason. So, I definitely started with a lot of C class, like your working class people, your working class locations and areas, just because the properties are cheaper. I try to avoid war zones. I don't really own anything right now that's like in a total war zone. And I think anytime that I've realized really quickly that it wasn't for me. And I've lost money, like getting out of it just to get completely out as quick as possible.
Yeah. Well, you probably have like a smaller buyer pool too. It was just people who are willing to take that risk.
Yeah, that same.
Honestly, it's like you.
Yeah.
You're gonna give that discount back.
Oh,
but yeah, yeah. Like I can understand. Like maybe even the rent could be good and you can cash flow really well. But are you ever gonna visit it? Probably not. You probably don't want to. That's not a good situation. Yeah, you can't be confident in the place that you own. I don't know if that's for us, but yeah, that sounds great. So you said obviously that you have avoided some syndications, and you have obviously taken down these properties like seller finance. Also, what is like a typical type of deal that you've done? Let's say where I'm guessing if you're. Were you using like some of your own money too, or were you using private money to like help gap like whatever seller finance there was, or some other loan?
Yeah, so I've done a little bit of it all, right? My favorite way to do deals today, is to take private investor capital, and to have that capital be like liquidity in our account, right? It's there, it's available in case we need to flex into deals. I love for investors to, have their capital with me for the long term, right? Where they're making long-term gains on their capital. And then I go out and I look for deals and distressed assets where I can add value, right?
Okay.
So the typical deal, if you got a hard money or you've got a, private money lender that's going to put money into that deal, in our markets, I want to cover the purchase and the rehab with other people's money.
Yeah.
Right. That's the typical deal. So, if it's in Mississippi, it might be a $50,000 purchase. It might be a $25,000 renovation. I love deals where I can have that whole $75,000 in purchase and rehab coming from a lender or lenders. Right.
Yeah.
We do that renovation and rehab. We go to the bank for a refinance, take that capital from the bank, and then pay off our investor or pay back our fund that we're using investor capital for. So those are the typical deals that I like to do. In the beginning, that wasn't the case. I mean, in the beginning, I funded deals however folks were
whichever way you could.
And I did a lot of funding deals based on what was in my checking account at the time. If I had $1,500, I would offer a seller, hey, can you seller finance this to me for $1,500 down, right? Or $500 down. Or if I had a credit card with a $10,000 limit, like I would use the credit card for rehab, purchase material money, stuff like that. Just because it's what I had and it's what I knew at the time. The way I do deals now is totally different than the way I do deals back then. Because now I would always look for other people that have capital to fund those deals.
Okay. And like, let's say you were going to do something kind of like a 5-year term, like would you usually, and let's say you were going to have them where you were going to gap it or something, usually doing like interest only payments like throughout the year, just every month.
Yeah, so it's like very investor specific, right? So you'll know, like if you get into capital raising, that you'll have some investors who want to be paid every month and they're paid interest. You'll have some investors who want to be paid some of their principal back. You'll have some investors who want to be paid like quarterly or annually or yearly. So when you're doing like a lot of volume, a lot of times you're meeting the investor and trying to meet their need. Like I've got some investors who they just like 1% a month. Right. And so they'll put as much capital with us as we want for 1% a month. Right. And they want that monthly check, clockwork. Then we've got some investors who put money in and they want to be paid at the end of the project. So it's totally dependent on the investor. My favorite way to raise capital today is from people who have money in IRAs, or they have money just sitting somewhere. They don't need it. They don't ever intend to use it. And they just want a better return on their capital, and they want to know that their principal is safe and that they're betting on somebody that will always be able to get them their principal back. If they need it, And so those are the folks that I kind of gravitate towards today. In the beginning, you kind of take whatever terms investors will offer you. If they say, hey, I'll loan you, all this money for 30 days and you're going to rush to flip the project. And now usually if I hear somebody needs their capital back quickly, I just avoid it because projects always take longer than you think and cost more. And I like my investors to also be my friends. So
for sure.
I like relationships that are for the long term. Not saying that investors can't get their capital back, but generally, I like them to be in for 12, 24, 36 months. I like them to be putting additional capital with us.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, using us for a short term and then going somewhere else.
Yeah. No, that seems like a good way to, be able to be successful together. And then you guys can continue to go bigger as like their capital also increases too.
Definitely. That's the goal, right? Everybody making money together.
Yes. So do you usually help them through that process whenever you first met your investors that had money in an IRA? Did you kind of walk them through that process of how they could use like a custodian to become self-directed?
I would say no. Most of the investors that invested or have invested with me, they have invested with other people before.
Okay.
So most of the people that have invested with me, like they're teaching me how to do it.
Hey, that works.
Yeah, I haven't really been good at convincing people to do stuff with their money that they're not doing. I know that some people are good at the education part of it and informing them, but I haven't been able to do that. Most of the people that come and invest with me, like they already have done it. They already have their, self-directed IRA set up. So
they're ready to go.
Yeah, that's what I've seen.
What kind of suggestions would you have to other investors that are maybe like in our position where they want to raise capital, they want to meet these type of people that have IRAs that they're ready to go, they want to invest? Where did you kind of meet the people that you have been able to do deals with?
Yeah, so I would say like my background in education and teaching certainly helps. I think that, the online community is a great place to meet new people, but relationships take time.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
If somebody was looking to get into real estate or find their first few investors, I like to ask them, like, where are you connected already? Like where people have grown to like you and trust you. Like, where have you connected with people already? So, have you connected to people at church or have you connected to people in your career? Like, where can you go where people already trust you? Because I think that's where your initial private money comes from.
Yeah.
If those are not options, whether it be friends, family, or, coworkers, then I think you start to go in rooms and spaces where you can meet people multiple times and spend time with them, whether it be like masterminds or community meetings, places where you can spend time with people and they can start to say, okay, I like the way that person thinks or moves, or, their focus. They can see your consistency.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people, like, they start with finding people that have IRAs, which I don't know if that's the best way, because like it's convincing strangers to invest with you when you wouldn't invest in a stranger, right?
Probably
so
not.
I like to advise people to maybe start with the people that are not strangers to you.
Yeah.
Build a track record, and then use stuff like social media and masterminds and networking meetings to start going and being consistent and building relationships with people that can invest with you long term. Yeah.
I think that's like seems to be like one of the top pieces of advice from a lot of the books I've read that talk about, syndications, raising private capital, is tapping into the network that you already have and people that already know, like, and trust you, like you've been saying. And I think that seems like just the smartest way of doing it. And I think that a lot of the books all say about how they all kind of regret not getting private money sooner. And that's something that you're either looking for deals or you're looking for private money. That's something that should be like an ongoing thing.
Exactly. We should always be looking for deals and always looking for money.
Yeah.
Always.
how have you, you had mentioned about like how, and earlier too, like how your mindset and your identity has changed over the years, transitioning from education to real estate. Where are you at today with like your level of self-belief, and where do you see yourself wanting to go next? Do you want to just continue building what you have? Do you want to go bigger? Do you want to change or do anything else differently?
So that's a good question, because I think like for me, being an entrepreneur has been very much a roller coaster, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got the ups and downs to like, hey, I have my time freedom and I can do things as much as I want to. Oh, but if I do what I want to and it's not work, then work slips off and I'm not making as much money. Oh, yeah. It's like, it's definitely a journey of like trying to figure out exactly what it is you want to do. I'm kind of in the middle of a book right now on this idea of designing the lifestyle you want through real estate investing. Because even this question is like, it might, like if I told you what I want to do right now, right? Like, what I'm working on, it might, like, I hope that it inspires somebody to say, okay, what do you want to do? And you get to choose what you want to do. But to just, sometimes I give the professor answer to some of these questions. and the truth is, like right now, I'm restructuring my portfolio. I believe now a little bit differently than it was at the beginning. At the beginning, I kind of got addicted to the fact that the bank would loan me money. I was like, wait a minute, they'll loan me money? Like I can get money? And I can have money sitting in my checking account. Like, wow, this is pretty cool. Yeah. Nowadays, I think more about peace and time freedom. I don't think bigger is always better. In fact, I know it isn't. Yeah. You're talking to somebody who's owned 500 plus rental units with no partners, right? So, I can speak to the idea of the door count not always translating into what's in the bank account. The idea that you can have a lot of money and have no peace in your life at all. Yeah. And so these days, I am trying to build cash flow streams that allow me to do the things I want to do with my family. But I also have learned that real estate, I look at as a long-term wealth creator. For a long time, I didn't think that. For a long time, I was moving so fast and buying so many units that I looked at real estate as, man, I'm going to make a lot of money in a short period of time. For me, when you try to do that in real estate investing, you either pay too much in taxes or you get burned out from it. Sure. And so, these days I spend my time like trying to help other people that are getting started in real estate. I've got a coaching program. We meet every week where I have people coming in. We have accountability checks on each other's progress, what we're doing, what moves we're making. And then I've started a couple of maintenance service businesses, like national businesses where we do maintenance and repairs all around the U.S. Somebody needs a remodel on their property, or they need, light fixture change, just everything from, handyman to large scale remodels we do across the country. Wow. And the goal there is to like use my experience in rehabs and use my experience in property management, property preservation to help other investors that have these problems, right? Untrustworthy investors that don't finish projects, investors. Like the whole big problem. It's just something that I think I can help a lot of people with. So
I love that, man. Oh, it's really good. I think that one thing I never want to be in life is like stagnant. Yeah, personally, and I think that sounds like you're the same way, where it's like you don't want to be, you got into real estate, that's going to be like your whole story is that you just did that. And I think that it's important to kind of self-evaluate, self-reflect, to kind of go deeper into like what you can give back and continue to push yourself. Like, being able to solve more problems out there is going to help more people and give them the time freedom that they need with their families and everything to give more people opportunities. And I wrote down a few questions like as you were talking. So you were saying that we'll start with the easy one. So you said that you at one point had 500 units. Where are you at today? Like how many doors are you?
I don't know the number.
If you had to guess, did you?
I don't know the number.
Okay, no worries.
Back when I used to say the number, it was misguided. So now I don't even say the number anymore. I kind of laugh at folks still saying the number. It's good to have the goal. But it just kind of it doesn't help, right? Whether it's 1,000 doors or 1,500 doors or 200 doors, the real question is it providing the lifestyle that you want, right?
Yeah.
And so just, to help people think about it, if you've got 500 doors and you're cash flow negative, right? And every month you have trouble paying the bills and people are calling you and collectors are calling you and you can't pay your bills. Like, does it matter how many doors you have? And I can speak to that was the case for a year of my life, right? Like growing like crazy.
That's tough.
But really stressed out because you have to also be able to manage that well, right?
Yeah.
I know, an investor right now, one of my best friends really, who owns about 30 properties with no debt on them whatsoever. And he doesn't have, 500 plus doors, but he's at peace and his cash situation was better. And, he was like, man, but you have all these doors. And I'm like, no, you have peace. Right. And what's crazy about it is